Hello and welcome to Chess Please. Very simple concept for you today. We're just going to play a game of chess and see how we get on. We're going to play a 15-10 rapid game. We are 1857 rated, so the highest I've ever been. So expect this to be a little bit of a grind, but let's find out. We have a Sicilian, and practicing what I preach, I'm going to play an Alapin. I have done a video on the Alapin before if you want to check out the kind of key fundamentals. D5 by our opponent is correct. It's one of the best responses here, and what you want to do is just take, but we'll get through the opening hopefully as unscathed as possible. Big part of the Alapin and the main reason for playing c3 right out of the gate is to allow for this d4 maneuver. Hopefully they take here, in which case we take back and we develop our knight, but that's happening less and less because that is a bit of an inaccuracy at this level. So we're gonna have to be a little bit more crafty, a bit more klishta to get an advantage here. So this is all fine thus far, nothing too wild. This is kind of where our pieces want to be. Our opponent pretty up on the theory, it seems, and kind of have three choices here. We can solidify this pawn here with the bishop move. We can castle, which is just nice, safe play. And a big factor of the Alapin is actually this move to knight a3, threatening to come in here, and if they don't do anything, threatening to come in there. And I think probably in this position, we will do a little knight a3 maneuver. Early doors. It is what it is. That might be a little bit premature, actually, just because this can happen. Don't really want to give away a piece that we've spent time developing that they can take with an undeveloped piece. That's just a gain of time for them because we'll have to take back here. And there's a piece off the board, and what we've done is spent 2 moves, and they've spent 1 move in getting those pieces off the board. So a very minor, like, fractional trade there, but these time considerations do start to add up. You definitely don't want to waste time, particularly in the opening. And in these games, Sicilian games, it can be quite combative, tactical. They can have a lot of things going on. So oftentimes, that one time extra that you spend developing, recapturing a piece that your opponent doesn't have to, can be what gives them the initiative, can be what gives them the time to make a threat. And then you're on the back foot. You've got to respond to that threat. They can make another threat, in theory. So let's see. I don't think we're totally goosed after this. I think there is some middle ground trickery that we can pull. Now, again, I'm like well, not sort of, very much on the edge of my theory knowledge here. I kind of want to do this, but I think this is going to be a little tastier for the time being. This is just a little bit more challenging, I think. Knight is defended. It does give us a bit of tempo because this is actually a fork on the queen, the king, and the rook. So a lot needs doing. That knight move is pretty good. But is it actually? I think a bit of nastiness might be something like this. Sets up a discovery. This is good. I don't know how good that is. Just developing might be okay. Is there... what would they do after this? I mean, I guess they just drop their queen back there, and it's all gravy. So I think we're gonna rule that one out. So I think let's just castle. Let's just get safe. We don't want to get blown out of the water with some sort of counter punch. They've got castled. Maybe we could have been a bit more aggressive there, but c'est la vie. And I think now actually this might be okay. kind of out of the opening phase. I don't see too much wrong with either of our positions. Computer might think so at the end of the game. So they've closed it up here, which is interesting. And it puts this knight in a pretty unenviable position. But now I think this might be okay. Because then we can take here. Let's try it. Let's go bananas. I'm not too scared of knight in here or anything like that. Rook across here is probably going to be played. Can take there. That seems a little greedy. That seems like our knight might get trapped, but hey, sometimes you just have to be greedy. Snap a pawn off early doors. Overall, I think most of our pieces are in pretty good shape. This lad's a bit advanced, for a bit rich for my blood. This bishop again. Now with this pawn advanced, this bishop actually isn't doing a huge pile here. Like, this is plenty defended. Rook across here might be okay, but it seems a little... Kind of have both their rooks hemmed in on this side of the board. But they need to do something here, because we could take like this. Yeah, okay. Rook in there, that's alright. I don't hate this either. Piling pressure on. Yeah, I don't hate that. It sort of corrals our queen in a bit, but we can live with that. I think for now there are enough squares. Basically just want to pile in on this fella. Take back here. Knight defends this, which is okay. And then we renew the threat of this. I'm not too scared about taking here. Like, if they're not going to do that. But I think we got a decent argument here. I hope you can see the clocks. The last time I did this, the clocks didn't work. It looks like they're working. I'm playing RJ Mamo from the Philippines. Could get into the 1860s with a win here. Only very recently got into the 1800s, which tends to happen once you break into a new sort of threshold. I tend to find anyway, I get a pretty good run of it, and then there's a regression to the mean where we might drop down back into the 1700s for a bit, but a new floor gets established, which is pretty intriguing. I think we just want to take here, threatening this. That looks pretty good, actually. Queen could have more breathing room. That'd be nice. But this knight on b5, our knight here, not him, here, it does sort of lock down, like they are having to just keep things at bay here. They don't want to kind of let me run riot on a lot of their squares. what do we want to do here? So knight is back here defending. Don't really want to take here and pin ourselves. That doesn't make much sense to me. We can eventually take this knight, I think, but maybe we want to do something like this first. Is that too committal? Force the queen, not there. Here is probably good. Back here is okay. I don't think I want to do bishop here. I think I want to do pawn. So pawn we shall. We can trade these knights at our leisure. That's a nice benefit of the position. But we've made a bigger threat here on the queen, so they're due to respond. This is a threat after they sort their queen out. Okay. Now that this is relatively stable, like everything's on the light squares, their light square bishop's way back here, I kind of want to just kick, and maybe even kick. I think we're developed enough that we can commit like that. So let's just make them make a call. They might just take here, which is okay. But I feel like this bishop pointing down here is a little goofy, so I don't mind that so much. These are fighting words though. This is definitely like this is definitely attack. Like if this doesn't pay out, we might leave ourselves really exposed with the queen or the king here. But I feel like we can get all of our pieces mobilized pretty quickly. Taking here isn't the worst. But look at this knight. This knight's beautiful. Both our knights firmly in our opponent's territory. Bishop could come here and a sweeper of a diagonal. Actually, that is a threat immediately. This bishop here. It was partially the reason why I wanted to jump back. I wanted to unpin this because this is two pieces that can't really do anything. And now we've gained back. Okay, so now that they have threatened this knight, we can trade, which I don't love. I don't think we can benefit too much from the trading. I think we can dip to fight another day. Any other options? Ugh, maybe trading is okay, but I basically don't want them to either take back. I think improves their position a little, like they can start to think about doubling rooks if they have a rook up here, or they can get their queen back into the affair like that. This knight doesn't have great prospects, like that's taken, this pawn is controlling here and here. So I think let's just skedaddle, keep pieces on the board, the good stuff. Don't be trading for no reason. Computer might be like, nah, you should have traded, mate, but computer's not cool. But ultimately, I think the concessions they had to make, I mean, if we look at our pieces, if we improve this bishop, you could make an argument that every single one of our pieces is better than every single one of theirs. Material very equal, so at this level, I found at the 1800s, two things. You have to absolutely strangle your opponent for a victory. They do not resign, and they've a big bag of tricks that they can use to swindle a draw or a win when you think you're absolutely cruising to victory. So you have to keep the foot on the gas. And the other one is they're just way better at tactics. They just don't miss 2-3 move tactical operations that will win a piece, win a pawn, wreck your structure. So I think it's just a lot more wariness required when, I mean, at every level. That applies to any level, but it's been a particular step up since playing more and more players in the 1800s, 1700s. They're punishing. They're very clinical. And I don't feel like I'm that way inclined myself. So it's how's that fair? We have this, which hits the queen, hits the bishop, which I don't hate. And I kind of don't want that to happen. Hits queen, hits bishop, but it's not like anything's going to happen there. Because queen will just come here. Here with check, queen takes. Equally alluring is this. I feel like if they do this, yeah, we can just drop the queen back here. It's a little bogey, but yeah. Do we want to? This is the question. Do we want to allow this? Do we want to trade off this bishop, which doesn't look amazing, I'll be honest, and this knight does look amazing, but a bishop for a knight's always tempting. If we do this, do we actually have, like, this looks good, but is it actually tempting? I mean, if it forces them there or there, then this becomes a fork. That's a fork on the rook and the queen. This is what I'm worried about, because takes, rook is staring down the queen. So we'll kind of have to just drop the queen back. They'll take here, we take here. That's okay. I actually don't mind that so much. So here it is. This is my argument. This becomes a whole lot stronger if they go here or here. This is annoying, but I feel like we still have some tempo to deal with this. And actually, if we do, now that we've played this bishop move, if they do this, we actually can take, because here, no, we can't. That's a lie. It's a total lie. A fabrication. Interesting position. I do like our position. I do think we're winning, but I don't think by much. Any blocking here doesn't work because of this. Threat remains. Threat improves. I think we just need to avoid a fizzling of this attack, because this is weak. Look at all these pockets of space that they could potentially exploit. But for now, we're putting the squeeze on. We're doing exactly what we said, what we feared. When you waste time, if you make some passive moves, I feel like thus far the initiative has been with us. We're the ones making arguments. We're the ones saying, you have to respond to this. From threat material, you respond, we threaten again. It's a good way to keep your opponent on the back foot. And the reason why you really want to make the best use of every single move you get, every single thing that you do should cause your opponent to respond. That's a great way to stay on top of things. But that said, we're not winning yet. I like to talk up myself quite a lot, but ultimately, the chessboard doesn't lie. Chess speaks for itself. What if I were them? Would you play this? I don't think that works. I don't think it's like it's enough. Because you can just drop back here. Okay. So again, to recap, taking here allows this. And then the queen actually is trapped there. So we definitely don't want to take. I think we can drop right back with the queen. Here I also don't love because... well, maybe I do. Pins go both ways. Basically, I'm worried about a discovery here. But we can take the queen at our leisure. The bishop isn't really going to threaten us. Yeah, maybe stepping up is good, because the queen here is pretty miz. And I don't see a great way for them to trap us or win material in the meantime. So here's this. This remains a threat. And I don't think they have a great way to stop this now. Knight here is okay, but we trade. We hit it, they hit it, they hit it. Push. I mean, I think they can get away without losing a piece here. But we should win a pawn and open things up. Would love an exchange here. I think it's very easy for them to drop an exchange. And if you're newer to the game, an exchange is when you trade a minor piece, which is a bishop or a knight, for a rook. Rooks are more expensive, piece value wise, generally better pieces. So an exchange is like, it's not the end of the world. You're down in the like total count, you're down 2 points of material, but it's an edge. It's definitely enough of an edge to consider yourself winning in most cases if you're up an exchange. You might see grandmasters making an argument for trading off like a really bad limited rook for like a really powerful knight or a bishop. That's not what's happening here. I think it's just an exchange is almost always the right way to go about it to win that exchange. Okay, interesting. So what this does is it does save. Actually, I think it just gives away a knight, doesn't it? Yeah, so let's calculate here. Take the knight. They'll probably take back with the pawn. We'll probably take back with a knight there, I think. Just because this needs to get responded to. And I think at the end of it we might... well, we're going to be up a piece, I think. There is a threat of like a discovery attack here on the knight, but I don't think it works. So we're going to take... foolhardily we're going to take. Takes the pawn. We take with the knight, get the knight out of there. If knight takes... so we've got 2 attackers, they've got 2 defenders. I like this as kind of an intermezzo. That'll force the queen here probably. We'll take here. queen will have to take back. Then we can take here with abandon. So I think this works pretty well. Again, hopefully we're not just walking into a losing position, but we're up a minor piece. Simplification, not going to be the worst thing in the world here. This being check is very useful. This still exists. There's just some stuff in the way. This still exists. Okay. So I think that this doesn't do anything to solve their problems because of this. Then this. Then there's that. This bishop's a little loose here, so we don't want to go. I want to go buck wild. I think it's time to get the rooks in. Nothing hanging. Whew. Okay. Advantage us. Definitely not game over. Plenty of pieces on the board. Plenty of time to mess everything up. Loose bishop. I mean, threat is here. I don't hate dropping the bishop all the way back here, to be honest with you. To be very honest with you. I think we could use the defensive timber. And I actually don't love where the bishop is anyway, so that's fine. But we don't want to lose the initiative too much. We don't want to let them consolidate. Use all their pieces. I want to do this also. Just FYI. That'll force the rook somewhere along here. This rook can maybe take here. Even pushing here looks okay. I mean, don't really want to let them take, but we can threaten their rook instead. Does a push? I think a push does plenty here. I want to keep things closed around our king. This bishop's doing really well. Rook can come here, offer a trade if need be. Having a dark square bishop when they don't is very nice, because we can kind of just make commitments like this. We can say, right, this pawn, very vulnerable on its own, but we do have a dark square bishop. It's on a dark square. They don't, so they can't really force us to move that bishop unless they move this pawn, in which case we'll take, or unless they trade one of their rooks for it, which we'd be more than happy to accept that if they wanted. I don't even think we need to respond to this bishop move. If takes, we're still okay. I think we can probably just continue with our threats here. Which is fine by me. Again, make sure we're not hanging anything. We're in good standing time-wise. Again, I don't think we want to take here just yet. But we've a whole rook that's doing absolutely nothing. And it might end up doing something this next move. Rook here. No, we do this. It's fine. Wouldn't even be the worst to get our queen here. Could offer a trade here, or even I think we've got enough there that a trade would qualm any uprising among the black pieces. They just wouldn't have enough to fight the extra piece that we have. This passer would become a lot more of a burden. But I think it's going all right. We've got a nice edge on the clock. Righty-roo, right-a-reno. I think we'd actually take here is probably not too shabby. Threatening this. If they swing over here, we just take this. Oop, no. Take this. Just because the rooks talk to each other, I think we're all fine. This rook actually isn't doing anything at the moment, so I think it's all gravy. With the queen this advanced. Okay, now we want to probably do something a little more pressing. I mean, here just gets our queen into some nice open air. I think we can live with that. Is this some sort of chicanery? Are we giving away our pieces here? Queen defends this, which is a nice bonus. Okay, so there's queen. Want to make sure there's no perpetual checks here. Ducking back here looks right. This is what I mean, the sting in the tail. Arguably a lot of games we play where we get that piece ahead, there's a collapse, which is so useful. But it's just not happening here. They are just keeping the pedal to the metal, which you have to respect. Might offer a little cheeky trade here. Takes, we take here. Is that foolhardy? Potentially. Potentially it is. Another trade we could offer is this one. This is a little fancier. But this one's just a little steadier, I think. No checks. No. Where's this? Okay, stop that. Let's do our little fancy dandy trickery poo. Do we want to do that? No. We're hemming and hawing. We are hemming and hawing. That's not good for a body. Okay, I think I'd rather stop their attack. Oh, wait. That doesn't do anything. Because we gotta watch this. Okay, whatever this is, we're doing it. Chewed up a lot of clock there. I'm not as confident that we're cruising to victory, though we do have a full rook advantage. This might be foolhardy to let the queen in there like that. Foolhardy in the extreme. Doesn't take much for a queen and a rook to checkmate you. This would have been okay, maybe. No, that allows this. That's okay. They don't make it easy. They definitely don't make it easy. You don't get here by accident. I think if queen takes here, well, if queen takes here, we're going to take the rook. For sure. Take the rook. Rook takes. Queen here, check. And then I'll probably zippity do that on back and just hold this all together. That's my plan. Because there's no checks, which means this needs a responding. If they just move like there. See, that's the thing. They don't, probably like there is okay. Or there is good too. Interesting development. I think I do like this now. Again, no checks available that are going to really annoy me. Yeah, I mean the rook and queen can check there, but that's not going to be enough, I don't think. Not sure what this does, but something for sure. Right as rain. Let's start with a check anyway. This is actually threatening mate secretly. This is mate. No, not quite mate, but mate in 2. Because this can't take because of the pin. Okay, I think we've got mate in 2. We're not in check. This is check. This can't take because it's pinned. King has to go here. This is mate. Okay, I think this is a nice little mate to finish things off. Hoorah! There it is. Okay. Had to squeeze the life out of them, but that's just what happens. That is just what happens. We got a nice little W. I am going to have a quick analysis and share some of the findings with you on that now. But a fine little game, a fine little queenside pressure building, win the piece, squeeze it out. Textbook stuff. Happy days, we're up to the 1860s. Come on, Ireland. Alright, so a very quick review of that game as we played it. So I think a couple of encouraging things. I always like to see a graph like this. There's a little bit of turbulence here in the middle, but when you play a game where you just slowly get an advantage and then cruise on out for the end, oftentimes that's a good sign of you simplified well, you didn't open the door back up to your opponent. So that's what this graph tells me here. Overall accuracy is pretty good, not too many blunders or egregious errors, a couple of misses which we'll go through in a sec. Key takeaways for the game, I think Alapin opening did exactly what it says on the tin in terms of fighting the initiative back off of black when they're playing the Sicilian and launching into a nice little queenside attack, as well as getting just lovely homes for each of our pieces. A very, very playable position, which is why I love the Alapin. After that, there was one stage which we'll play through. So this is the Alapin here. Again, we want to prepare that d4, pawn push, and eventually using that d4 and this knight a3 maneuver to start exerting some pressure onto the queen side, and with our pieces all having very nice homes to live in. Now again, there were a couple of better places we might have put our bishops, etc., but I think for the most part it's a lot of splitting hairs or at a computer level. I think the big mistake we made that the computer kind of highlights again and again. So at this stage, I think for like 5 moves in a row, I mentioned this move in the game where we could take this a7 pawn. I didn't want to because the rook would then be x-raying through our knight, pinning our knight to our queen. And I was just a little worried about that. I needn't have been. There was plenty of ways to get our queen out of there and still leave the knight defended with this defended rook. So we could have just won a pawn there. That, I think, actually for the next several moves is like why these are maybe showing up as like misses or inaccuracies, which I'm actually kind of fine with. I just probably had it in my head that was too greedy, grabbing a pawn on the 7th rank, but it actually wasn't the case here. There was ways out of it. That said, we still managed to exert a nice bit of pressure, get our pieces in some lovely spots, and once we do win the piece, so at this point this is where we win that piece. This is where we convert the pressure into an actual piece up by having this sweeping bishop. No rare good for this rook to go without allowing this. So they give up their knight and they're not able to recoup the piece in any way. And at this stage now I'm kind of just looking to simplify down just any way that we can and fend off any attacks, any stings in the tail. And then the last takeaway I really had for the game, just a bit of shuffling around, threatening their pieces, not letting them get too clean a look at my king. And then I was actually very happy with the mating attack in the end. Again, I don't know if it was the best. Start with a check here. This rook on the 7th really piled on the pressure. Queen move in here. There was only, I think, one way that they could have stopped that. Let's say if we actually retry. Gives a hint here. So they need to drop the king back here. Is that right? King back there, but we still have a pretty overwhelming attack. Like we probably even just dump in here. But they didn't do that and we're allowed to deliver mate. Always nice to finish off a game with mate. So that's a very quick analysis. Nothing too egregious done by our opponent, but they just let us get all of our pieces into a lovely position, which is what happens in the Alapin time after time. In my opinion, there's ways to equalise in the Alapin for sure. We didn't see them today. And that's what ultimately got us the win. So that's all from me, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to subscribe and stick around. And yeah, looking forward to the next one. Thanks very much. All the best.